Are you listening? Damn. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Hello.
What up, though? Hey.
Oh my goodness.
I would not believe how hard it was for us
to get back.
Man.
Yes, it has been so difficult to like launch this back up because with little kids, with a business, with all these different projects that we do. Oh my goodness. It's just, but we know how much needed this is. And so we just finished cooking dinner. I just threw my hair up.
I just got in from work.
And he just got in, like literally ran in, and like we're excited to be here with you today. And if you don't catch this live, of course, you might be also watching the replay. But as you all know, this month is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Tonight we have a special guest, Miss Jocelyn Stewart, that is going to share her survivor stories. We don't call them victims. We are survivors of domestic violence, right? So, but first, do we have any announcements or anything that...
All right, so this domestic violence push isn't by itself. So my wife and a couple of her cohorts had a fashion show, and it was for domestic violence. It was to highlight the what do you call it? Not survivors. Yes.
Yeah, it's to highlight, the voices of the men and women. There's men as well, men and women who have overcome these situations in their lives. And so myself, with Beautiful Potential, my business, as well as Carlotta, who owns King's Clothing, as well as Decovia Livingston. She owns Livingston Taxes Free for You Services. The three of us decided to partner up and come together and promote our cause, right? Bring our platforms together. So we call ourselves Three Shades of Beauty. And you can always go look on our website, 3 Shades of Beauty, number 3, and then shadesofbeauty.org is where you'll see any of our events or upcoming events. And Jocelyn happens to be one of the speakers at our last week event. And I thought maybe being that it's Domestic Violence Awareness Month, that we would bring her back to elaborate a little bit more on her story, on her journey, and let you, the audience, be able to interact with her as well as ask questions that you might have. And make sure you share this because we want it to be as interactive as possible, which you don't get when you are, when you have a speaker on stage just sharing their story, right? You don't really get that. So tonight you'll be able to have her live. And if you do miss this, you can watch the replay, but also the audio portion will be downloaded to all of our podcast stations, iHeartRadio, Pandora, any podcast station, you name it. We are on there. So if you're not like a watcher and you're a listener driving into work, you can always plug your earphones in and listen as well.
The main kind of message that we have there is we're back. So every Wednesday Blaze and Soul podcast will be back. So get back into that motion of catching us
Yes.
on Wednesdays. Yes, it was a hard struggle, but like I said,
It's always a hard struggle.
it is amazing when we are, just conversing with people or whatnot, and we say something about the podcast, and they're like, "Oh yeah,
What happened to the
we love
podcast?
our
Where are
podcast.
you
What happened
guys?"
to it?"
But like we do this out of our spare time. We do this in our living room and at home. So we got to get the kids situated. We got to get all the equipment, everything up and going. And so it is a chore, but it's well worth it. Everyone's always asking, "Oh my goodness, when are you guys gonna bring back your show? We love watching it. We miss you." But one thing that I do want to point out is Mondays have been so crazy for us. So I'm like, let's try Wednesday, but apparently every day is crazy for us. So
we were going to do it at our branding studio. We have, a branding studio with equipment and all of that good stuff. But you know what? That made it even more difficult. So we want to, the old adage, keep it simple, stupid. So we are going to try to do it out of. Now we do have space in our house. We do have kind of like a office set up in our house. So we're going to try to keep it simple.
Yep.
Keep pushing it out. It was funny because, like I said, the response we got was, "Why don't y'all do that no more?" And that's crazy. I don't do it no more.
Yes, I know. And my husband has been like, "Come on, babe, come on, babe." But it's just a struggle. It's just so hard. And so we're okay. We'll do it. We'll launch next week. And so
let me tell you.
Yes, okay. I know.
Initially, she was on me. Like, "Oh, you ain't serious. You don't want to continue to do it. It's a headache for you." But then,
can you guys hear him? Because he's all leaning back and all. I'm like, sit up. Sit up.
See, you see what I got to go through? This is what I have to go through. Sit up. This chair sits back. First of all,
I know, but you have to sit up so they can hear you.
I am a 6'2" gentleman, so it is hard for me to get in that capture. But anyway, we're back. So catch us. We'll have some fun
every
stuff.
Wednesday, 7 p.m., the same time, same place. 7 p.m. Central Time, by the way, because we do have guests from all over the country. And so tonight...
And outside of the country, too.
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, we do have guests outside of the country, Egypt and all sorts of places. But tonight, without further ado, we would love to invite Miss Jocelyn Stewart to the stage. And let me add her to the stage. Hello.
Boom.
Hello. Hey, there she is, the lovely Jocelyn Stewart.
You should feel privileged and honored. You are our first guest. Now that we have hopped back in.
Yes.
And we've gotten tens of thousands of viewers. So, without a doubt.
Yes, we want to thank you for coming on and sharing your time with us. I know that you're a busy mom and entrepreneur and all that, and so we just want to thank you for coming on with us. We can't wait to dive in and learn a little bit more about you, your journey to entrepreneur, and most of all, your journey with this word, domestic violence, so that other people that are listening, some of our listeners, can also learn from it, and perhaps it may save some lives, right? And so,
absolutely,
yes. So go ahead and share a little bit about you with our guests, and then we'll have some follow-up questions from there.
Tell us your journey.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you both for having me on this evening. It's definitely an honor to share your platform with you, to tell my story and be inspiring to those that is watching and tuning in. So Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. For those of you that don't know who I am, my name is Jocelyn. I am located in Goshen, Indiana. I am the owner of Fabulash Beauty Salon. My salon is a one-stop shop beauty shop. We provide a variety of services: hair, nails, lashes, massage, aesthetics, you name it, we do it. I'm a full-time mom and full-time entrepreneur, and I am also a domestic violence survivor as well. So, yeah, that's a little bit of my background of who I am.
Awesome.
Now, without going into anything you don't want to talk about, can you kind of delve into the domestic violence experience that you had? And once again, don't touch on
As
anything
comfortable as,
yeah, don't touch on anything that you feel
yeah,
uncomfortable with.
absolutely.
But can
Oh,
you give us
sure,
a little
sure.
bit of insight?
Yeah, sure, no problem. So, my domestic violence journey, unlike others, started at a very young age. Um, During the time in my childhood of living with my father. So, my mother had custody of me at the age of birth to the age of 7. And due to life circumstances and changes, my father ended up gaining custody of me from the age of 7 to 14.
Mm.
And most, like most parents, parents have rules and they are very strict. And mine was a little bit more stricter than others. Um, and so at the age of 7, I had to grow up and be an adult and mature quicker than my time should have been.
Mm.
And so growing up, I lived in fear constantly, fear of disappointment, fear of not being able to be good enough for people. And that was just from the instillment that I had to endure as a child with having to make sure everything was perfect. And if it wasn't perfect, then, you get whooped with extension cords and um, for me, I was going to school with like black eyes, and to protect my father, I would tell the school like, "Oh, I got jumped by girls," because I understood to a certain degree at that time. My mindset was that maybe in some type of way, if I shielded him, some way it's going to change.
Right.
Um, and that's one part of the cycle of abuse. Most of the time, the victims feel like they are responsible for their abuser's actions and feel like they can fix it, and you can't,
Oh,
unfortunately.
okay.
And so yeah, so that was the start of my journey. And as I grew older and finally reached out and broke my silence and reached out for help,
Mhm.
I was placed in foster care and into group homes all the way up until the age of 17 until they emancipated me out of the system.
Mm.
At that time, I was a teen mom, so me and my daughter was a ward of the state.
Mm.
I had a loving family, a lovely lady who took us in. She was 75 years old when she took me and my daughter in and treated us as her own, and we still actually communicate and go visit and see her still to this day.
Aw.
um, and then I found myself after um, living in a domestic violence home with my father, when I got up into my early adulthood age before he passed away.
Oh, wow.
By the grace of God, we were able to reconcile those issues that we had, because I drew a resistance against my father, which will come naturally when you um, living in a domestic situation. You kind of withdraw yourself from the
Absolutely.
abuser. So from the age of 14 to about the age of 26, my dad had not seen me. He had not heard from me, because I held a lot of resentment, anger,
Yeah,
against my father, because this was the man that was supposed to protect me and shelter
absolutely.
me, but mentally and emotionally and physically destroyed me. Um, and then when I relocated back to Indiana a couple years before he passed, we talked, and my dad was very sickly, and so I was there for him, helped take care of him all the way up until he passed. And his last words to me a week before he passed away, he apologized,
Wow.
which um, sometimes as a victim, there's a strong chance that you're not going to get that closure of
Absolutely.
hearing that apology. But for me, that was great closure, because it was like, man, you really don't know how you affected me long term, which speeds up to why the choices that I made in
Right.
prior relationships, which also put me in a cycle of being in a domestic situation
Mm.
with my former husband. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I mean, they say that hurt people. So perhaps there was a chance that your father maybe learned it from somewhere, or maybe he was also a victim himself. Did you ever find anything like that out, or?
I have not, and it's so unfortunate, especially in the African American community. A lot of things is swept up under the rug.
Yeah.
There's this very old saying of what goes on in my house stays in my house, and I am not a firm believer of that. I mean, of course, we want to have some privacy, right, of our, of our personal life, but if there's anything that is harming you, or causing physical, emotional harm, that is enough for you to seek help. That should not be swept up under the rug. So even when I was going through those stages with my father, when I was in custody with him going through abuse, I did used to try to tell aunts and cousins, anybody that would listen at that time, even my mother, before she passed away as well. I would let her know, like, hey, this is what's going on. I would have summer vacations and holiday visits with my mom, so she would see the markings all over my
Oh, wow.
back, all over my legs. Still to this day, I still have
Oh, wow.
scar tissue on my body from the beatings that I used to receive. So, and even at that time, my family would just be like, "Oh, it's okay, just stick it out. You'll be 18 soon, and then you can get
Oh,
away." And it's like,
wow.
I'm
Wow.
crying out for help. I'm
Oh,
with a
no.
psycho, and you guys are telling me to hold on. And mentally,
Sure.
I had enough. I had enough.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, and
yeah.
I feel like that is similar to our background, Asian Lao. I grew up from a Lao household too. Similar, right?
Mhm.
We would be told not to say anything, and everything that happens in the house stays in the house, which is probably why, there's so much like mental health issues within our community too, because of the stigma around mental health, and also
Absolutely.
help for your mental illness as well. And so a lot of times it transpires to those other things, such as abuse, drug abuse, alcohol abuse, all sorts of abuse, including abuse of, the person that you love or the person that is around you.
See, I feel
Mhm.
that when you say, or I can only speak for, the black household, so to speak. So growing up in a black household, it was always a thought process of what goes on in the house stays in the house, but it was never, or at least in my opinion, or my situations, it was never negative stuff. So it was if somebody beating on you or
Mm-hmm.
somebody doing something to you,
You're supposed to tell.
you supposed to tick.
Oh,
And
Mhm.
I'm saying in my
growing up.
yeah, in my experience, or then the family would jump to it. So if your husband whooping on you, your uncles would come over there and snatch him up. So in that
Mhm.
regard, where
Mm-hmm.
I thought that kind of thought process came from. Now, if somebody doing something wrong, or one of your parents is doing something wrong,
Mm-hmm.
yes, shout it at the rooftop.
Mm-hmm.
But I came from a household that was like, hey, what goes on in here stays in here.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mhm.
I just want to make that differential that it was never,
Yeah.
on a negative aspect.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and it wasn't always for a negative aspect either. I guess it depends on the scenario. So for my
Exactly.
Yeah.
scenario, yeah. So for instance, for my scenario, of course, my dad didn't want me to be, telling people like, yeah, I just got whooped with a extension
Right.
cord, or
Right.
he just punched me in my eye, so it was closed shut. But if there was a molester or something like that, then it's like, yeah, say something.
Right.
So it depended on the circumstances for sure.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But in that regard as well, probably a lot of black people grew up with that type of thing going on in the house where you get whooped with a stitching cord and you think, oh, that's normal. It's just it's running the mill, it's normal, but it's not. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
That is abuse. I went to, I think I was in freshman in high school, and I got whooped with an extension cord, and it leaves welts. So when you take off your clothes in the locker room, your coach might pull you to the side and like, what's going on? What, talk to me. What's happening?
Right.
So in that regard, I am with you full force that some things that happen in the household that your parents might think is run of the mill is not run of the mill.
Right.
Absolutely. And it's not always what you do, it's all about how you do it. I am an advocate for, having structure and discipline and things like that, but it's always a fine line where it crossover from discipline to flat out abuse. And and in my experience, even with just the verbal, you never know, like the words, you never think of it until you see that thing manifest when you're speaking over your children. If you're constantly talking down on them or, calling them stupid and you just like your mama or you just like your daddy, those things hurt, and go ahead. Sorry.
No, I said I agree with you.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if I was cutting you off. I didn't want to cut you off. So those, it's a thin line. It's just all about when to know to cut off and not cross those boundaries.
Right.
Absolutely. Now tell me a little bit more about like your journey with your ex-husband as far as the abuse. Like, what was that like? When did you first start having those signs of abuse? But a lot of times from what I hear, the women or men, we ignore those signs. And what was it like for you during that time?
I was definitely like the song Eve, Love is Blind. In my eyes, that man did nothing wrong. Again, I am one of those people that would hoard things to myself. Like, well, maybe I said something the wrong way, or maybe I should have did something different to not make him react that way. So I ignored a lot of the signs. So it started with my relationship. It started with emotional before it got physical. My ex-husband at the time, was very sweet, very charming. Before I knew what a narcissist was, he was the Prince Charming.
Yeah, right.
I thought I hit the jackpot. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Until years later, I was sitting in the counselor's office, crying my eyes out, trying to figure out what happened.
No.
So yeah, he was very. I might need my charger. He was very charming. I did not see it coming. And then it started off with verbal abuse. We'll have a disagreement. And then it would be shut up B or this, that, and the other, or like it was very aggressive. And so again, coming from being abused in my childhood, in my adulthood, it was like, all right, now I'm not Miss Seeley, like we gonna go toe to toe, okay? So I was, so when the verbal abuse would come towards me, I instantly be aggressive because now I'm just like, I'm this puppy, but it's still like I'm a lion on the outside I'm the puppy, but the inside is like I'm this lion voice because it's like I already had a male figure do this. I'm not gonna be in a relationship. So it started off with the verbal abuse, and it was like, okay, I'll just let it slide. You say something crazy to me, I'm gonna say something even crazier back. And then I didn't notice how deep it was until the first strike was hit. And I was actually pregnant with my third daughter at that time. And there was a lot of infidelity issues, and I confronted my husband at the time about it. And so, we had words, and next thing you know, I got shoved to the ground. So again, I'm like, oh, it's just a little push. I didn't move out the doorway. It's my fault. I'm always saying it's my fault.
You were pregnant too, though, right?
Wait a minute. Let's frame this. So he's cheating, and
Yes.
you confront him
Confronted
about it,
him,
and you're
Yes.
pregnant,
and you're pregnant.
and he
Yes.
get physical with you.
Yes, I was
Wow.
all type of crazy, and I
Oh,
had the evidence. The person who was it was caught red-handed, and yeah, I was to blame for it.
oh wow.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yes, give me
That's,
2 seconds. I'm gonna add my charger so
Oh,
my
sure.
phone did not die out.
Oh, yeah.
Um, so yeah, so I was to blame for that. And
Wow.
then at that time, like I said, I was about 4.5, almost 5 months pregnant with my third daughter at the time, and even then, I tried to brush it off like, okay, it's nothing. It was just a little shove. It's gonna
Mm-hmm.
be all right. And once you let them slide the one time, it's gonna get more aggressive. And they're gonna repeat it time after time after time again.
Mm-hmm.
So then after that point, and I would always take him back anytime he um, cheated or we would fight. I say, "Oh, get out," or "I'm getting a divorce. I'm gonna leave." And within a couple days, a couple hours, he would
Right.
love bomb me right back, and I
Love
right back.
bombing.
Yeah.
Oh my
And
goodness.
so it was when I say my previous marriage would put the T in toxic, we were
Wow.
toxic to where it started off behind closed doors
Oh,
till it started to be outdoors. Like it didn't matter where we were at in public, we was cutting up. Like
oh,
it was getting bad. And
sure.
so then it started getting very physical. So it went from the shoving, then it went to the slapping, the punching. I had to have to make a police report from him jumping on me. My jaw was actually fractured. I was
Oh,
sitting on the
no.
toilet. I was sitting on the toilet and I was confronting him again about some things I had seen in his phone, some more infidelity. And yeah, he jumped on me while I was sitting on the toilet, defenseless. Can't do nothing when you're on the toilet,
right.
right? So
Right.
Oh
Nothing you can
no.
do.
so
Nothing
I'm
you can do
like,
on the
this
toilet.
is just
Oh my
crazy.
goodness.
And so at that time, that was in the year 2018. And at that time, I thought then, like, okay, this is it. My whole jaw was
Oh my
fractured, sitting
goodness.
out. Police came, arresting him. My kids was there. Um, and I was a fool again. Went
Went
back,
back. Wow.
went right back.
You
And
went back.
so
You ain't do the hot grits when you went back.
Oh
That'll teach you. That'll teach you, kid.
no.
Not
The
to put
hot
that on
grits.
man, the hot grits. No, see, later on in the story, you'll see I had a Tina Turner
Oh
moment when she was in
you.
that
Okay.
limo.
Oh
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
oh.
Y'all split off. Okay, I feel you. I feel you.
Yes, yes. And
Hmm.
so, I went back, and because I am a woman of faith, and so my spirit was very conflicted. So, when you grow up in a Christian, grow up as a Christian, they teach you, divorce is not of God, and
Right.
God hates divorce. And so I
Mhm.
was torn, like, do I stay or do I go? And then I also wanted to be the one that would break generational curses. And it was like, I don't want to split my kids up. I want them to have both parents in the household, give them the life that I did not have. So that was my excuse
Yeah.
as why I would constantly stay. And I had a couple friends, even co-workers. I worked in healthcare for 12 years.
Oh wow.
And there was times I would have to call off because my lip busted or my eye is black, and the girls would cover for me. And I remember a couple of the staffs like, well, just pack you a bag and put in a trash bag and leave it by the dumpster. So when we pick you up for work, we can just take you to a shelter. And I'm like, no,
Oh.
I'm not leaving. I'm a
Oh
fix it.
my
I'm a fix it. I'm
goodness.
a fixer by nature. So I
Right.
always think that I can fix any and everything.
Mhm.
Um, and so fast forward into we're in 24, 2022 was my last incident where I got tired. The fighting was getting worse. If I breathed the wrong way, it was something, holes getting punched in the wall. The disrespect was just outrageous.
Mhm.
And this time it went a little further than just the physical abuse.
Right.
My ex-husband actually put a loaded gun, cocked it, and put it right to my head.
Oh wow.
Wow. That
So
is
that
no.
that for me, was like, all right, enough is absolutely enough. Like I just can't I can't help a person that don't want help. I
Right.
didn't understand why, because I was a loving wife. If you ask me, in my eyes, I was the most perfect wife. At least I tried
Yeah.
to. Nobody's perfect, but
Right.
I
Right.
tried to do everything
Right.
right. It was like I just didn't understand. Like, how could somebody say they love you 1 minute,
Right.
slap you down 2 seconds later, then give you an ice pack to put on and tell you they love you? Like, that's
Mhm.
crazy and insane. And so my
Mm.
mind mentally split. And when
Yeah.
I say it's split literally to where I was literally having ambulances coming to my house within 2 to 3 times a day. And
Oh
so
my
what I mean by
goodness.
split,
Wow.
what I mean by mentally split, my brain just literally cracked because I was hoarding all of this stuff in, all of these emotions in, all of the abuse in. And I started, at the time, I didn't know what it was, but at the time, I started convulsing like I was having seizures.
Oh
So the
wow.
ambulance was coming 2, 3 times a day. Come to find out, it was panic and anxiety attacks.
Mm.
So then of course, when you go to the ER, they ask me like, is everything okay? Is everything all
Mhm.
right? And I'm
Right.
like, yeah, life is great. I'm not stressed.
Right.
I don't know where it's coming from. But
Oh
I
Right.
knew deep down inside where it was coming from. And
no.
so my doctor was like, you know what, the best cure for this is to seek therapy. And so at first I was shunned to it, and I was like, no, I don't want to be
Yeah.
sitting at nobody's couch and them listen to me and half listen to me, half sleep. And
Right.
he and he actually referred me to a great therapist. I
Oh.
did therapy for 2 years, and that's when I started to do the self healing on my journey, and figuring out what exact, because I was in denial for so long. Like, I'm not in an abusive relationship. What
Yeah.
did to it? Or I was in denial for so long. But with that last incident, with having a loaded gun put to my head, and my children was there, not knowing if I was gonna make it, me not knowing if it was just to scare me or if he was actually gonna pull the trigger. Especially when somebody's intoxicated, an
Oh,
accident can happen. You
no
can
doubt.
bump it the wrong way,
No doubt.
and boom, my head is blown off my shoulder, or a
Wow.
bullet could ricochet and hit one of my kids. So at that moment, I had to make a decision. Like, do I want to continuously live in this lifestyle? Do I want
Right.
to continuously show my children that it's okay for a man to hit you? It's okay for a man to beat on you and talk to you the way that they do. By me saying, I was teaching them that was okay.
Yep.
That was the norm, and
Right.
Yep.
that's not normal.
Yep.
Um, and so, yeah, I don't know if you want me to keep going,
No.
but
Yeah. No.
I have to ask you a question.
Yeah, it's interesting because your situation
Mhm.
kind of transverse both situations. And what I mean by that is that everyone, when they think of domestic violence, they think of somebody jumping on somebody. And you
Mhm.
had that physical aspect. But I think is what is kind of missed in all of this is that there was it started out not being physical, but being
Right.
mental. So
Mental.
that kind of
Yeah.
sets you up for
Yeah.
the next part of that. I'm gonna break her down
Mhm.
mentally,
Right.
then she's gonna let me break her down physically.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is
Yep.
missed in those type of situations as far as um, you know, me and my wife, I laugh about it when we joke, but I'm like, some men say, "Well, no, I ain't never put my hands on my wife." You don't
Mhm.
supposed to put your hands on your wife. That ain't nothing to brag about. That should be the norm.
Absolutely.
But
Mhm.
I laugh and joke with her. I'd be like, I've been with my wife 20 years. I've never called her out of her name.
Right.
That's one aspect that I think that gets overlooked is that it can start out not with the physical aspect, but
Mhm.
it can start out with
Breaking down
breaking
your
you
self
down,
esteem
breaking you
and
down
yeah.
mentally,
Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
then it sets
Absolutely.
you up for the rest of it.
Absolutely. And how long were you in that relationship for?
13 years.
Wow. Well, they say it
13 years.
takes like an average of 8 to 9 times for a woman to finally leave. And so
Not a woman, a person in a domestic violence situation, because
it's
we don't
men and
we
women,
don't
yeah,
yeah we
of
don't want
course.
to we don't want to we don't want to compartmentalize
Right,
it
right,
to
right.
just women.
Yeah.
Even though it probably happens more to
More
women
often, one out
than
of
to
three.
men.
1 out of 3 women have
Um,
suffered, and 1 out of 9 men. I believe the statistics or something like that. It may have changed now, but just through resources and education that I've read on, yes, it's both men and women. And as a matter of fact, like, just doing the 3 shades of beauty, we had men break down as well during this past weekend. That have also shared their journey with domestic violence and what they've experienced. And we've had men heal during the process of us doing like healing circles and things like that. So it is
Yeah.
both sides. And of course, it happens more often with women, but I don't want to discount the fact that men do go through it as well.
and men have it
And they
hard.
do.
Men have it harder from the aspect of if a woman tells a group of women that she's being abused by her husband or significant other, they automatically run to her defense. We understand. My mama been through that. My sister been through that. So the women gravitate and try to help and heal that person. Now, when a man tells a group of men
Right.
that he's
Like,
being
oh
abused,
man, it's like
he
this.
gets
Right.
ridiculed.
They get dismissed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you'll ridicule him.
Yeah.
Oh, your
Yeah.
woman got you, hemmed up, or So it's a little different when a man tries to express that he's being abused as opposed to a woman. So that's just one aspect.
And one of the things that I've also learned in the process through one of the therapists that was actually at the event last weekend was that when you're in an abusive relationship, it's almost like you've been sort of brainwashed, right? Your brain is chemically rewired, right? And so she mentioned that the only way for you to fully heal or fully be separated is to actually be separate for a long time. It's like a drug. You are fiending for it. Rather, it's like yourself. You were used to it. That's how you felt love growing up. But it does chemically change your like brain, and you have to actually withdraw from it like a drug.
Absolutely, and that's what I was saying. Where when I say I mentally just
Yeah,
cracked, because you do, especially with dealing with narcissists,
yes.
they will have you. You can see them with your own 2 eyes do something, and they were like, "No, I didn't do it," and you're like, "Well, dang, did I do something?" And like seriously, like it was getting to that point to where it's like, I know I just seen that text message, or I know I just seen this picture. I
Like,
know
no,
this
you
lady just inboxed me saying you was just with her last week. And he like, you didn't see that. And I'm like,
didn't.
maybe I did see that. And it was, my brain was like
Absolutely.
playing tricks on me. Like oh my gosh, like that's a place I thank God every day that I'm no longer in that space. But it definitely does. It brainwashes you, and you have to retrain
Yeah.
your thinking. And you do have to be separated, because if you don't, you'll be in that repetitive cycle, like how I was. Oh, you can leave and put you out for 2-3 days, and then I'm right back, and then oh, you be gone for a week, and then I'm right back.
Yeah,
I had
it's
to
true.
literally put things in place, like starting off with the restraining order. So it's like, yeah, now you can't be so many feet near me. And then I even went and got licensed to carry, because at that point it was just like, you now
Oh
playing with
wow.
firearms.
Yeah.
So now I have to protect me and my kids, at all times. So yeah, I started doing those little things to help retrain myself, because when you are in a domestic situation, the whole purpose of the abuser is to manipulate you, to strip you of your self-worth, to strip you of your self-esteem, so that you can be solely dependent on them. And so
Absolutely.
that's what my past relationship did. It stripped me emotionally, and then even with physically, with family. Like, I didn't go to family functions. I didn't have people come over, friends. Every blue
Yep.
moon I might get a call, but he stripped that all away, or manipulated my brain to feel like, oh well, that person don't really like you. They're only using you. Like
Yes.
they wanna mold you to right, so they can have you right where
Absolutely.
they can control you like a Muppet. And so
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
it definitely took for therapy for me to get
So
that and
you
see.
so you think, okay, so one of our guests, hi Jessica. mentioned the battered women or men syndrome, right? It's like you want to protect your abuser, right? They can do no harm. Like I think it's also called the Stockholm syndrome. You tend to like see the good in them, like you said, I'm gonna fix them. And so, as we're getting close to the end, I would love for you to share any advice you have for any of the men or women who are listening today who may be stuck. And actually, I've had someone that has been reaching out to me, and they're stuck in a relationship of 14 years, and they seem to not be able to get out of this toxic relationship of abuse, right? So, what
Mhm.
advice would you have to the people that are watching that may be going through a domestic violence situation and they want to get out of it?
Outside of the wife and old man.
Well, my first, before I give you any advice, my first piece of encouragement would be that you are not alone. Um, Most of us women that is in those situations or have been in those situations, the first thing we think is it's just me that's going through it, and you're not alone. There's a community out there of women, past or present, that is there to support you. And so the number one thing I would say is to break the silence. Silence is the number one killer to healing. Silence is the number one hindrance for your breakthrough. Because if you don't speak up, how could you get help, or would anyone know how to help you? Um, and so breaking the silence is definitely the first thing. And whether it's one person or two person, a close friend, or letting your doctor know, like, hey, I'm in this domestic situation. I need to see a therapist, a
Yeah,
counselor. Again, my counselor was a very great advocate for me that actually walked me through the process. Um, and then also, I would definitely say have a support system is definitely going to be well needed. You won't be able to do this by yourself. I still have accountability friends and family that checked up on me during the process to make sure I didn't slip and slide back in the DMs or slip and slide them back in the door. They would check up on me like, "You good? You all right? The kids good? Like, you know, you can't go back now because you can't cry wolf."
right.
Because it's there are cases where women get out and then they
Yeah.
go back and then they never make it out, and
No.
their kids are planning funerals or their families is planning funerals. So
Yeah.
um also I will say this as well. um don't feel pressured. I know for me, even though the outside could see what was going on and will always harp on me, God bless you, baby, sorry.
No.
um they will always harp on me about you just need to leave and da 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 da.
Yeah.
You gonna know when you are tired. Don't let anyone pressure you, because that is a setup for you to fall right back into the trap. Because you're gonna leave off the strength of
You're
someone else
right.
wanting you to leave instead of you feeling like you had enough. You will know when you had enough. And I definitely would say have a plan in place. If you are financially dependent on your abuser, start putting up, get a little extra job, putting money to the side, making a exit plan. So for me, that's what I did. I started my business so I can be financially independent. And I just started stacking my bread up, and I started looking for places. He didn't know what was coming, what was going, until the moving truck was there. And I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
no, me and my kids,
Oh,
we gone. No, you not
right.
coming. We ain't get no keys. You don't even have the address. Like, I'm good on you. So
Oh,
sometimes you gotta
wow.
move in silence while you're breaking the silence, if that
Yeah,
makes sense.
yeah, absolutely. And what was the aftermath for you? I'm sure that he may have made it difficult for you afterwards, or does he like is not allowed around you? Like, what was the aftermath for that?
The aftermath, oh my gosh, dealing with a narcissist, baby, you're gonna get a lot of kickback, or just an abusive relationship in general. You're gonna get a lot of kickback. Oh, you don't love me. What about the kids? They are gonna make you feel like you need them. But the aftermath for me, it was the best choice I have ever made. My kids are in a more happier, better mental state. I'm in a better mental state. I don't have to walk in eggshells. Life is great. Business is booming. Now I look back like I wasted my time with you, scrub man from the flip phone gone somewhere.
Wow. Nice. And that
But
was only 2 years.
yes, 2 years. Life has definitely been greener on the
Yeah.
other side for me. And
Yeah.
sometimes, it can be intimidating because you don't know what's going to be on the other side of that shadow,
Mhm.
coming out of that dark place. But I can guarantee you 100%. I'm not saying it's going to be easy,
Right.
because it was days where it's just like, dang, I'm by myself. I ain't got no
Yeah.
man. I ain't got no boo. But then it's like, I my head knocked around either. I
Right.
can
You're
walk
like, I don't
around
have a black
freely.
eye. Right.
Exactly, or just being even emotional. I'm very free, and my kids are very free. It's very liberating, actually. It's very liberating. It's so funny because when I started my business, I never knew God was going to use my test as a testimony. So I have a lot of clients with the service that I provide. It is so funny because like I'm a service provider, but I feel like I'm a therapist at the same
Right.
time. Because my clients, they just come in and it could be the first day they meet me and they're just so open and free, and they'll tell me
Aw.
about their issues, and they don't know me from a can of paint. They never heard my story, and I've had a lot of battered women or women going through a divorce and similar
Wow.
situations. It's like, okay, guys, so you gave me this business to lead me
Yeah.
into the ministry that you have for me, and so I absolutely love it. Absolutely love
Yeah.
it.
They're like, when's my next lash appointment?
Okay.
Oh my goodness. That's amazing. Wow, I'm so proud of you. And so what's
Thank
next
you.
for Miss Jocelyn Stewart? And how can people get in touch with you if they did want to, reach out to you for one thing or another or learn more about your business?
Yeah, so I do offer so the next thing for me is I am going to start walking more into my calling, thanks to you with the little push. um and it's so funny because a lot of people that I've had conversations with or interacted with, they're like, you should market this, or you should do a book. So I do have a book I am in the process of working on, finishing up. So I'll be doing that and more one-on-one coaching sessions to be more of an outsourced support system for women who are looking to get out of a DV situation. So you
Nice.
can find me on Facebook under Jocelyn Stewart. You can find my business page on I have a Facebook business page, Fabulash, and on Instagram we're Fabulash Beauty LLC.
Okay. Fabulash. And then do you have a website as well that they could potentially go to?
Yes, I do. So my website is fabulashbeautyjd.com. And you can find me there, all of the services I provide, that my team provide. And then also if you want to have a conversation with me for like a
Can you
little
spell
coaching
that
session.
out? Fabulash Beauty.
Yep. FABU. Oh, can I put it in the chat?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Absolutely. I was gonna type it up and then add it, but yeah.
Okay. So I'll add it into the chat. So if people want to connect or have any questions, they can
Awesome.
reach out to me there as well.
Awesome. Yay. Okay. All right. Anything else that you would
No,
like to add? So
that
look
was
out for her book.
that was a
That's coming soon.
that was a testimony, and
Hmm.
it takes a
Thank
lot of courage to say that on a national forum. So I do congratulate you on being able to
Absolutely.
speak your piece, being confident enough to say that, and could care less who hears it, who
Exactly.
agrees, who disagrees. You could care less. That's
Hmm.
very commendable.
Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Yes, yes, yes. Let me see.
And we're gonna have you back on now. You didn't say whether or not you have gotten back into a
Relationship.
relationship or you have transversed that.
Repeat that question again. I'm sorry.
So now that you're out of that abusive relationship, have you gotten to another
I know why
relationship?
he's asking.
Oh, I have not, but I am very open. I'm very open to it. So all the single
No, wait. First, First of all,
I know what he's asking.
why do you feel that you can finish every sentence that I
Because
have?
I've known you for over 20 plus years. Since we were in our 20s, and now one of us is in our 50, or is 50. Gonna be 51
Then we
next
just
month.
we just
right?
discussed emotional abuse, right?
Right.
We did discuss that, right? Okay. I just wanted to make sure.
I mean,
But yeah,
I like the perks because I got my AARP card now.
Okay.
I love it.
Hey, but you look 25, so it works.
thank you, sweetheart. Thank you, baby girl. We were going to do a show that was kind of like the dating game, where
Oh.
you don't see the person.
Mm-hmm.
We ask both of y'all questions, y'all converse, but y'all don't get to see each other. And then you pick, the person that
Mhm.
just from you guys talking, which one you feel.
Right, it's more most
yeah.
compatible.
Then y'all will do a virtual date.
You do a virtual
Then
date.
y'all will come back and y'all will let us know whether
How
or
it
not it was a match or whether or not it
All
wasn't.
right. Okay. Look, what the young people say, clock the T. I'm with it.
Yes,
Yes, yes,
we will
yes,
have
yes.
you on without a doubt.
Absolutely.
Thank you
Absolutely.
very much.
Well, it would be a pleasure. I thank you for the invite. Now I'll wait for the details.
Oh, no doubt, no doubt. I've been putting it together for a minute.
Yes.
And person over here think that she know me so well. So
I knew that's what you were gonna say next.
Yeah. But thank you very much for spending
Yes.
some time with us.
Yes.
You're welcome. No problem. Thank you again for having me. You all have a blessed
You as
night.
well. Bye. And we will be in touch.
All right.
Awesome. Oh man, that was awesome.
Now, see, I initially thought that it was going to be more of a segment where I wasn't going to be involved. I was going to kind of sit back and let y'all go, but she did. She had a inspiring story, so that's that is.
You sound like TS, Laura. He's been benefiting from me being older too. He will pull out his AAP card in a minute. Oh, but Miss Ruth, I didn't even know that TS was younger than you. See, and I've known her husband since we were in our 20s as well. So we're getting close to our 50s also. What? All right. Yes. Great job, Miss Jocelyn. And thank you for sharing your story. That was amazing and brave of you to share.
But that's what we like to bring to Leisure Zone. We like to highlight, entrepreneurs, community leaders, people who are making a difference in the community,
Absolutely.
as well as stories that can help anybody out there. Whatever you're going through, whether it's you need to push in a positive direction or you need to pull it back. We hope these stories and these parables can help everyone out. And
that's not true. You will not. She said she'll be 52 in 2 weeks. Well, it's the Mary Kay. That's what it is. The Mary Kay. See? Mary Kay, it is. Yes, it is.
Anyway, so we are back.
So this month, being that it is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, that is why we decided to bring Jocelyn to share her story. And next week, we will also have another survivor story. You don't want to miss this one as well. This is Miss Y. Renee, and her story is so impactful. She was also at the event this past weekend, and I don't know if there was a lot of people in the audience that were wowed by both of these stories, and it's just amazing. I've heard comments even afterwards, people coming up to me. You had some amazing speakers, and so that's why I wanted to do this, so that way they have the opportunity to also come on here, and then also thank you, Miss Ruth, and also share. You guys can come on live and ask questions. so they can respond to you as well. And so there's no dialogue. We just go with the flow. So whatever you want to bring next week, come on, join us again live so we can tackle this very tough topic of domestic violence.
And don't think that this month will just be domestic violence. We will have another speaker on, but we like to keep it light as well. So
Yes.
we'll have some other things going on as well.
Absolutely.
But the main, I guess, message that we want to give you guys is that we are back.
Yes.
You guys asked for it.
Yeah.
We're here, and we're not going anywhere. So
We'll be back.
that's what's happening.
Even if it's right after cooking dinner and after sweating and
And running through
the traffic to
the
get
door
home.
with like 3 minutes to
Right.
spare.
Right.
But yes, we are back.
Absolutely. And if you or anyone would like to be a future guest, we would love to have you. Just inbox
Entrepreneur,
us. We're looking for entrepreneurs,
activists,
community leaders, anyone making a difference in the community.
No
So
doubt.
we would love to hear from you. All right, everyone, have a good night. Thank you for tuning in, whether you're watching the live or the replay or the podcast on audio. Just be safe, and our prayers go out definitely to Florida tonight for all of our friends, family, and those that we know out there. We're just praying for Florida as well. So
Without a doubt.
yes, and so we'll see you next week, same time, same place. All right.
Deuces.
Have you ever felt?
Are you listening? Damn. Yeah.